What's up, you YouTubers? This is Harpy Hunter 89 and the voices in my head coming at you from the Duelist Den. And today we're going to be going over the top 10 archetypes that I feel should get some more support. Now, the majority of these archetypes are, of course, cards that are teched into other decks just to kind of push those decks forward. But I feel that with the right support, these archetypes could do well on their own. So with that being said, hit that intro. Umbral Horror, or whatever you want to call it, Umbral Horror, was released in the sets Judgment of the Light and Primal Origin. And it's a really decent deck. Even when it was first released, it really didn't see a lot of play. And that to me is because they didn't have a bunch of support. They relied on generic cards to gain consistency, such as the Lure of Darkness, One Day Peace, Reckless Greeds, things like that. And I honestly feel that these cards had, even one card in the archetype, or one spell card in the archetype, I should say, that allowed them to have a search effect or something, it would have been a lot better. I mean, right now the archetype consists of 4 main deck monsters, 1 trap, and an extra deck monster. By extension, you could say 2 extra deck monsters, because the one they have is Chaos 104, and by extension, number 104 could probably be part of this archetype. But, yeah, I mean, they focus on just swarming the field. Every time one comes out, it gets another one. It would have been a really great deck, and I think, even today, it would be a great deck. It needs some spell support, maybe, maybe something, or spell card, like I said, it lets it search, maybe some attack boost effects, or like a monster that gives it an attack, all the other Umbral Horrors attack boost, things like that. But I just feel this deck could have been great if it had the support that it needed. The Goyo archetype is one of my favorite of the synchro-based archetypes. It's primarily synchro monsters. It does have 1 fusion monster, but outside of that 1 fusion monster in Goyo Emperor, the rest of the cards for this archetype are synchros. Now, I have no problem with an archetype having a bunch of extra deck monsters when the entire archetype is made up of nothing but extra deck monsters. It comes to a bit of an issue. Now, it can be used in pretty much any Earth Warrior deck. Some of them are generic, some of them require Earth base, some of them require Warrior base, some require Earth Warriors. But the problem with this deck, or this archetype, is that, like I said earlier, it is nothing but extra deck monsters, and I feel that they need a lot of main deck support in order to be recognized as a truly efficient archetype. Now, it doesn't have to be, a ton of stuff. Just start off with some simple cards, like maybe some Goyo effect monsters, some Goyo spells and traps, and then work off of that base. Make it easier to get to what you need to synchro summon, or in Emperor's case, fusion summon the Goyo monsters. And if that happens, I feel that this could be a really great archetype. Malice Boreas, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, is an archetype that was released in Shadow Specters and used by number 96 Dark Mist in the Zexal anime. And this deck is designed to swarm the field. Everyone that, when it's summoned, has an ability that lets you special summon another Malice Boreas monster. So just with these 3 cards, the Malice Boreas Spoon, Knife, and Fork, it does have some pretty good playability. The problem is it only has 3 monsters in the archetype, and I feel that it should have had some spells and traps, maybe a few more monsters, give them like a plate, a bowl, a pan, something, hell, give them just the plate and the bowl, and that would be 15 monsters for the main deck that you could use. And just with their own abilities, being able to special summon from the hand, the deck, the graveyard, they are also Dark Fiend type monsters, so you can combine them with cards like Dark World Dealings, to get them in the graveyard, or to get one in the graveyard to special summon, you combine it with the Gates of Dark World, to get some draw power off. There's just so much you can do with this archetype but it didn't have enough support to really do anything. And I feel that's because of the fact that A, it only had 3 monsters, it didn't need more monsters, but B, it also has no spell and trap support whatsoever. And I feel that giving this Archetypes of spell and trap support would make it a really playable deck. Barrier statues debuted in Cyberdark Impact, so it was a really long time ago when these were first released. It's always been a unique archetype and one that I've always been interested in. What they focus on is preventing your opponent, or preventing both players, I should say, from special summoning monsters with a different attribute other than themselves. So if you can get 5 of these out on the field, then you've got 5 different attributes that can't be special summoned. And it's just a really interesting archetype. They have seen some play in recent days in the barrier stun decks. Not so much so that they've won any major events, but it is a stun deck, you know. They do well, but they don't always top, you know. But I think that with some more spell and trap support, which is really what these cards are missing, all they have are the monsters. You know, maybe give them some spell and trap support, maybe give them some Xyz monsters that you can special summon that, I don't know, ignore the barrier statue's effects maybe. But I really do think that this archetype could have gone far if it had some spell and trap support or maybe some extra deck support. I absolutely love the Aqua Actress archetype. When it was first released in Dragons of Legend 2, I felt that it should have gotten a lot more support than it did, and was really hoping that it would get more support in the next Dragons of Legend set, which it did not. Now this deck, or this archetype, has the potential to be great. It does nothing but search, it has protection abilities, and let me go into detail on that. The monsters, one of them lets you add an aquarium card from your deck to your hand, so it lets you search out one of your spells or traps. And that one was Tetra. Guppy lets you special summon an Aqua Actress, and Arowana lets you add an Aqua Actress monster from your deck to your hand. So the monsters have search effects. The spells and traps are protection effects. And it really had the potential to go far, but it didn't get enough support to do so. Now, as an Xyz-based deck or a Synchro-based deck, I don't think this would be great in either of those respects, as Tetra's a level 1, Guppy's a level 2, and Arowana is a level 6. So maybe going down a fusion-based line for this deck would possibly make it better. And it's just one of those really great decks that just didn't get the support it needed. And I feel that if it did get the support, then it would have been a great deck and possibly even one of the better decks that were around at the time. Baby Raccoons is one of the few archetypes on this list that actually did pretty well during the format it was popular, despite having so little support. Now, the archetype itself really only has 3 cards. That is Baby Raccoon Pompoko, Baby Raccoon Tantan, and number 64, Wandering Raccoon Sendayu. You could make the argument that Ayers Rock Sunrise is a part of the archetype, but Ayers Rock does not have Baby Raccoon or even the word Raccoon in its name or card text anywhere. It's just a tech card for pretty much any deck that utilizes beast type monsters. So it's not really part of the archetype. But I feel that I really think Baby Raccoon should get some more monsters, maybe some spells or traps that, you know, specifically work with them, then this could be a really good deck. And if this deck had that support back when it was popular, then it would have been a tier 1 deck, really, because it was hard to play around. It relied on flip effects and graveyard effects, and it was just one of those real tricky decks to get around because it could easily swarm the field. It could put a really strong monster on the field, and if your opponent had a really strong monster and you were running Baby Raccoons, then you could put a token on the field that matched that opponent's monster, and then just suicide that token into that monster and get over the rest of their stuff. So it was a really good deck, and I feel that it really needs more support, and if it had the support it needs, like I said just a little while ago, it could have been a tier 1 deck during the time that it was popular. Fairy Tail is one of the more modern archetypes that is on this list, as are all 4 of my top 4 choices, but Fairy Tail is generally used as a tech engine. Fairy Tail Snow was used during the 60 card decks that were popular not too long ago. Fairy Tail Luna is popular in the modern stun decks. And I feel that if Fairy Tails had some more support to really, you know, kind of glue it together as a stable archetype, it would be a lot more popular. Now, it may not be a tier 1 archetype, but it would be more popular. And the reason for that is a lot of people don't realize that the fairy tales have more than just a graveyard effect that you can use. They also have effects that you can use when they're summoned to the field. So giving fairy tales some more support, they definitely need some spells and traps, maybe a couple more monsters, just to make them a stable archetype and glue them together more, I think would be a really great idea. Seeing this archetype on my list may surprise some of you who've been following me for a while, because I generally, as a rule, hate anything, whether it be Dragoonies, Blackwings, Raid Raptors, anything that tries to emulate Harpies. As a general rule, I hate, or at least dislike. Okay? Now, Lyrilus, though, I feel has actually captured the spirit of the Harpies and is the next logical step for Harpy players who, like me, have tried to make Harpies relevant throughout all of Yu-Gi-Oh! History. And right now, it's really sad because they only have 3 main deck monsters, and technically for the TCG, 2 extra deck monsters. The OCG has a 3rd one, but we don't have it in the TCG yet. Now, there are rumors that this archetype will be getting more support, but until I see it, it's just rumors. And this deck does utilize both fusion and Xyz monsters, and it really sucks because they don't even have their own version of a polymerization. Like Fluffles have their own fusion card, Gem Knights have their own fusion cards. I would really like to see this archetype get its own fusion spell that is specifically relevant to the archetype itself. Furthermore, I would like to see it get some more monsters. They do already have a surge effect, a special summon effect. I would like to see some more monsters that have some abilities that let you, send them from your deck to your hand, or maybe some more special summoning effects. It's a really great archetype. I would love for it to get enough support for me to build a pure Lyrilus deck, and I really hope we get that support in the future. The Invoked archetype is a really great archetype, but unfortunately it is usually just used as a tech option for other decks, primarily because the majority of the cards in this deck are fusion monsters. It has 7 fusion monsters, 3 spells, 1 trap, and 1 main deck monster. The downside is you not only have to get your main deck monster, Alistair the Invoker, in your hand, but you also have to get either Invoked, which is the archetype-specific fusion spell, or a polymerization in your hand in order to go into your fusion plays. And it does have ways of swapping out your invoked fusion monsters with other invoked fusion monsters in your extra deck, as long as it has a different attribute. But it's just really a pain to get 2 specific cards in your hand just to go into your big plays. And I think that if it had more support, like more monsters with names that could be treated as Alistair the Invoker, similar to what Cyber Dragons did with Cyber Dragon Zwei, Cyber Dragon Core, give it other main deck monsters with effects that allow them to be treated as Alistair the Invoker, it would really make this an archetype to be reckoned with by itself. Now that we've gone over Invoked, let's talk about the archetype that they are paired with more than any other, and that is Wind Witches. Now, Wind Witches by themselves are a very explosive archetype. They only consist of 3 main deck monsters for the moment, and it doesn't matter which 2 main deck monsters you open with, you're going to be going into very explosive plays. And this is really sad considering that they only boast 2 extra deck monsters to the archetype, one of which is a fusion and one of which is a synchro. Now, they do have their own tuner monster in the archetype, so synchro plays are not really that big of an issue. The downside is the turn you use Wind Witch effects, you can only summon or special summon wind attribute monsters. Now, as far as the synchro base for the archetype, that's not really too big of an issue because we have the Stardust synchros, we have Clear Wings, we have Crystal Wings, so it's not really a huge issue. But if we go into the fusion aspect of the deck, they only do run 1 fusion monster for the archetype. And I feel that when and if they get new support, they should really get another fusion monster, maybe another synchro monster, and possibly their own fusion spell, just like with the Fluffles and Gem Knights having their own fusion spell, or Invoked having their own fusion spell. These guys, the Wind Witches, or these girls I should say, should really get their own fusion spell as well. As an archetype, I would really like to see get more support, and if it does get the support it deserves and it's decent support, this could be a tier 1 or tier 2 deck just by getting a few support cards. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments in the section below as to if there were any archetypes that I missed that you felt should have been on this list. I would really love to hear your feedback. And for those of you who were giving me advice on Zodiac Duelist these last few days, I really tried to implement some of that advice into making this video. I hope I succeeded. If I did, let me know. If I didn't, also let me know. I would like to know. But I really try to do everything I can to make these videos more appealing to my viewers and subscribers. So if you have some advice, please feel free to pass it along. Anything I do to make my channel more entertaining for you to watch or more informative for you to watch would be really helpful. And while we're on that topic, I just want to remind you guys that I am doing a pack giveaway on Halloween this year, but I need 150 subscribers in order to be able to do that pack giveaway, so I can really use your help getting some more subs onto my channel. Furthermore, if you do want to get in direct contact with me and do like instant messaging or anything, check out the Duelist Den Facebook page. That is the best way to get a hold of me in order to give me ideas for videos you would like to see up on the channel, or to give me advice or anything like that. But anyway, until next time, this is Harpy Hunter 89 and the voices in my head, signing off. Take a shot at